Fuck, hell no, I'm not using that intro. I'm gonna use a more awesome one.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the man who's eager to please. And you'd better believe he's gonna celebrate your party night with ease. Get ready for the man at the back, the man who has the knack, playing the best music in full attack. Hold on tight and you won't miss a beat, and you will simply have to move your feet. So, without further ado, let me introduce to you the man who'll entertain you the whole night through. It's the man with the plan. It's the man who can. It's the man who has the potential to become the essential.
Yeah, that used to be the intro. In the past. Yes, hello, I'm HiGPS, and today's a very special episode, in a way. It's 100. And I decided that I'm not going to say episode anymore, because eventually I run out of space on the title card. Because if it would say like episode 100, it would be a lot wider, so it's like just a number. So now it's GPS number 100. So we've done this 100 times. Which is a lot. So, today we're not gonna do any StarCraft. We're not gonna do it. I actually played Minecraft just now. But yeah, there's gonna be no Team Fortress 2 or no game or anything. It's just gonna be kind of like a blog story kind of thing about me and what I do and my life and all that crap. So if you're not interested in me in general, then you can just leave. You don't have to watch this because this is probably gonna be boring. It's just gonna be a bunch of stories of me, and I'm going to be showing some videos of me in the past that surprisingly none of you guys have probably seen or know about. So, I have like this little document here prepared. Hang on. I hate when the cord like goes over the chair. So just let me just have drink and then drool. Excellent. So, where should I start? Probably when I was born. Came out of my mother's vagina. That's pretty much how most of our lives started, unless you're like a robot or something like that. But then, let's talk about, it's going to be like, I guess, game related to me, like game experience. How I ended up here is probably going to be like the route we're going to take, and I'm going to be talking about like, you know, playing games in different areas and stuff. So I was probably 3 or 4 years old when I first played a video game, and it was at my uncle's house, right? And he had like MS-DOS. It was before Windows. I was born in 1988, which makes me a certain number of age if you subtract the year you're currently watching this in. Yeah, math. Excellent. And I played a game in DOS called Sky Shark, which is basically this top-down shooter. And I could only get to the second level, and then I died. Then later, like a couple of weeks back, I still played the game, and that game is fucking hard, and I still got to the second level and died, so I had no idea how that worked. So that was about my first gaming experience. Playing on DOS, I played Sky or Die or Sky Shark. Basically, my first games were shooting games, pretty much. So that was my first game experience. However, how I grew up, I have a younger sister and a mother and a father, of course. Pretty standard, no divorces, no nothing. Pretty good. None of my family share any interest of what I do ever. They like, my family's not been like, people go like, oh, it's been like a sister to me, you know. And I have a sister, and I'm like, what's special about that? None of my family are like especially close. We're kind of very independent people. Most of our family is. I mean, we kind of just lived in the same house, and then we did different things. And yeah, my sister didn't care for games. Neither did any of my parents ever. They always said it was a waste of time. They still do. So nothing really changed there. So in growing up, we had a computer for the most part, and I played a lot of games on the computer by myself, though. Because in the beginning, I don't know if anyone has experienced this, but like when your parents get a new computer and then they put it in the bedroom, So you have to sit in their bedroom and play. That can be kind of annoying. And I played like these MS-DOS games that would use the speaker inside the computer, because there's actually like a little speaker inside the computer that like makes beeps and shit. And the music would be like like horrible, and they would just get so mad, and I would not get it. I was like, what the fuck is music in games? It's really good. And what are you talking about? So yeah, and then they moved around, and I eventually played my computer. We had like this little booth that became into my computer room, and this was probably in elementary school. And I remember like we still had the mouse with like the rollers on them, and I remember I got the first wireless mouse I've ever used, and it had like one of those rollers. It was not a laser mouse. And at that point in elementary school, like later, like fourth grade plus, it was around the time Tiberian Sun came out. And you either played Tiberian Sun or you played StarCraft, right? And I played Tiberian Sun. And this was the time when it was still modem, and DSL was only going to happen a couple of years later. So I remember me and my friends, we all bought Tiberian Sun, and we played it. And that was before the patch, and now I was like fucking broken with the artillery that just could fucking hit everything from anywhere. God, that thing was broken. I played GDI. It was pretty cool. And then I played online and just got completely destroyed. And I remember we were like, there was like this clan system they had, and we would think that that was like a title. And that was a point I didn't know what LOL meant. Like somebody said it meant loser online. And when people ever said lol, they're like, oh, they're insulting me, God. Because I wasn't very good at English at that time. But yeah, then I played against some pros and on the ladder, because that ladder just got completely destroyed, and just being like, okay, I'm just going to play with my friends now because I lost. So in my household, we were kind of like a Nintendo house. First, we rented Super Nintendo. I remember that from the video store. I remember playing Goof Troop, and I was like, it's super good game, so fun. But the cartridge was like bugged, so I could never get it past the second stage. It was really, really dumb. I never got it around the second boss because the game would always like freeze and crash and shit. So I was like Nintendo, never a big Sega fan. I mean, I played Sonic at a friend's house, but that was about it. So in elementary school, growing up as a kid, I was not necessarily nerdy, because nerdy means like you're really good at something. I mean, I did sports, right? I did football, the one where you use your feet. And I played on a team for like 7 years. Mostly through entire elementary school, I played on a team. And I played left defense because I liked shooting things from afar. I like to stand far away and then pass the ball with a long pass. I've always enjoyed that. And then also one thing I've always enjoyed is that when you played as a kid, I don't know if you, but I like lived in a town that had like woods there and mountains and shit. So it was like town, mountain, seaside. It had like everything. It was a really good town, except this town is shit because there's like tons of drug addicts there now. There's just alcohol and shit everywhere. People suiciding every day. And the thing was, growing up in that area, we spent most of our time just walking around, and we walked really far. It was like several kilometers. We walked and we bicycled. And I was pretty active as a kid, moving around. And we played soccer. I remember one day we played like football for like 12 hours straight, and I get home and I just collapsed because I hadn't drank any water. We'd been out in the sun all day. It was like vacation. That was brutal, man. So yes, but when it came to like playing games and stuff, when we played like out in the forest and we played like war and other stuff, like we made up shit that we seen on TV, I would always play the villain. I loved playing the villain. And also whenever I watched like cartoons or when I was little, watched cartoons, or now I watch a movie, I always cheer for the villain because like I love evil people, especially like Vegeta is like one of my favorite characters. He's like a bad guy but kind of a good guy in a way. It's like really important. So I always like playing the villain because the villain has all the cool shit. Like you have just minions you can just throw at whoever, and the heroes doesn't have anything. And then at the end they beat you, but still you got to have all the cool shit. So I kind of enjoyed like being evil, like because that was kind of fun. So then in elementary school, I remember this very clearly. It was because now it gets relevant to what I do today. My father came in and he's like, hey, I got something for you. I got at work. Gave me this and you can play it. And it was. This was 1998. You know what came out in 1998? Half-Life. Half-Life came out, man. God, I was in 5th grade, I remember that. I remember playing Half-Life for the first time. It was a cracked CD, so it didn't have any music or any audio at all. It had audio, but no music, right? So I was like playing the game, and I was just sucked in. I loved it. It was so fun, and that we still had modem at that time. And it wasn't until a half year later we got DSL, so I can actually play online. But I'd never played multiplayer because I would play the single player. And what happened is that I get to the part where, in the beginning, when you're like talking to Barney, and he would just sit there, and I was like, oh yeah, because I didn't speak English at the time. I was so bad. I was like on elementary school, and like when all the other like kids in the class, they were like really good in English. They were like conjugating and knew all the words, and I was just sitting there like a fucking dumbass, not understanding anything. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm not gonna learn this language, that's for sure. I'll just fuck this, right? And then I got Half-Life, and then they talked, and I would just like thought like, you know, the voices were pretty cool, so I would just like imitate them and be like, welcome to the Black Mesa Research Facility. This train is inbound from level 3 dormitories to sector C test labs and control facilities. And I can pretty much, I think I memorized all dialogue in Half-Life because I played it to death, man. But what happened is that I got to the part where there's like these tentacles and you have to press the test fire button. I got in there and I didn't see the test fire button. And I would just get there and I would go down and like turn on the valves, but I wouldn't go back up to the control room. I wouldn't figure out where the fuck I was supposed to go, right? And then I was like, I'm stuck. Maybe I did something wrong earlier. So I like replayed the game and I got to the same part again and I got stuck. I was like, and this was the fourth time you could like check up like walkthroughs and shit like that. So you have to figure out everything yourself. Well, at least I did. And then I remember we were playing with a friend, and we were playing like this. Like I had the keyboard, and my friend were like the kind of guy who likes to watch. He doesn't necessarily want to play. And we bombed the keyboard so that my right click didn't do anything. So all he did, he had his finger on like the numpad delete button, and that was the secondary fire. So whenever you press that, like the shotgun would fire 2 shells, or we would fire like a rocket launcher or roll a grenade. Like he would do that. You know, we were like playing 2 people, playing Half-Life, you know? It was scary as shit, holy man. And then my friend saw like the button that's called test fire. And I'm like, what's fire? He's like flames. I'm like, oh, right. Oh, I know. And then I got past it, and then I beat the game. And I played it again, and I played it again. And then I started doing like all like the cheats and stuff, like using console commands. So I basically learned typing English and the American keyboard from using the console, because the console at that time only supported American keyboard. It didn't support like fucking Norwegian crappy ass keyboard. So yeah, that's how I got into Half-Life. And then a year later, 1999, Counter-Strike came out. And I remember being on vacation in Spain and playing Counter-Strike on a Spanish net cafe and playing with some really good people. And it was in Spanish. It was like, counter-terroristas win, or terroristas win, or something like that. We would play, and I'd just get completely destroyed. And then I got home, and then I realized I had Counter-Strike as a mod installed already. I had no idea how it got there. And then I discovered Team Fortress Classic. And man, Team Fortress Classic, I think I was in 6th grade or something when I discovered that, 6th or 7th. I just loved it, man. It was like, because it was essentially like Half-Life weapons, just differently, and it had like 9 different classes. It was just so fun. And I played it, and people were like really good and completely thrashing me. Like I played on like this fun server called Forever 2, had like low gravity and shit, and that was where I spent like most of my time just playing that. And I would start playing the medic. I loved the medic because you could like give this rabies to people and it would like infect them and they would like run back into spawn, but it wouldn't cure them. They would just infect everybody and then everybody just died and you got a bunch of kills and you could like conk jump with like the bombs that the medic had. Everybody had grenades and I was like so good in playing with that. I didn't play sniper because I'm like, fuck sniper, you can't jump, boring class. And then I just played that for a while. And then Counter-Strike 1.5 came out, and then I started playing that. So I was shifting between Counter-Strike and Team Fortress Classic at that point. And then I played a mod called Earth Special Forces, which is a Dragon Ball mod. It's still in development. It's still Half-Life 1 engine. It's pretty good. You should check it out. esfforces.com. It's like a really good Dragon Ball mod. If you like Dragon Ball, you're going to like that mod. It's kind of not balanced, but it's kind of fun, right? And then I saw that they had an interview from something called Half-Life Radio. Like Half-Life Radio. Back in the time, I was called Skybert, by the way. That was my nickname, Skybert. It's like the character from some Swedish author, fictional character friend. There's a lot of people who's called that. He's not original at all. And I would just go there, and I would listen to the show, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. It was the first time I ever saw something that had English in it that I was interested in, that was like not boring books about fucking, you know, like Germany or England or fat people in the States. So this was really interesting, and I started listening to it, and then they're like, hey, if you want to talk to us, you can come on Ventrilo. I'm like, what the fuck is Ventrilo? What is that? And in case you don't know Ventrilo is like Mumble, only worse. So I would go on there, and I would join like this community of people. And keep in mind, I'm super bad at English at this point in time. I listen better than I talk back, right? And I would just get with some people and be like, hey, want to play some games? And they're like, yeah. And then we played like together and played them with horrible ping. I had DSL at this point, so it was no problem. And yeah, I played with them, and then we had the release. And then I'm like talking with the guys, and I'll be playing with them for like a couple of months. And then one of the guys sounded like a black man, right? And here's the thing. In Norway, the word for the N-word, which is, of course, a nigger, is not negatively loaded in any means. It just means a person whose skin is black. But I didn't know that it had a negative word in English because I was so bad. So I was like talking to the guys, right? And his name, he was Hitman 101. I remember that so well. I'm not sure if he's called that now or anything. We were like playing. And then I thought he sounded like black. And I like just like bluntly straight up asked him like, hey man, are you a nigger? And he just got so mad. And I didn't understand because I'm like, hey, I'm like asking, like, hey, is your skin black maybe? Because maybe it sounds like that. Because I was just curious. And he just was so angry. He didn't talk to me after that. It's been like over 10 years. I haven't seen him or anything. And he was so mad. Everybody was laughing, and I couldn't understand why they were laughing. Nobody explained it to me either. So I like for like 2 years, I was like walking around fucking clueless why. And then like suddenly one of my English-speaking friends like says the word, and we realize it's a racist term. I just go, oh my god, I've been a fucking idiot. Holy shit. And yeah, that was my first experience with like offending people without really realizing it. So when it came to, I just want to backtrack a little bit because I forgot a topic. No wait, I didn't. Yeah. So at this point in time, I'm in middle school. I'm 13, 14. My English is starting to shape up thanks to Half-Life Radio. Because I was an intern there. I helped like screen. I was even on the show. I remember the first time I was on the show. I was 13. It was 2 a.m. in the night because this happened in America, and I was like so like tense because I know like at the end they bring up shout outs and you can like talk to people like I did before because I kind of stole that segment a while back, a couple of episodes, and I was so nervous because I didn't speak English very well, and those guys didn't know who I were or anything, and I just come on and I wanted to say something, and I'm like, hey, I'm from Norway, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, yeah. And I was just sweating in cold sweat. I was like shivering, like you're sitting there like you're watching like yourself slowly falling into an endless pit, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. And then after that, I got over that, and I kind of like removed my fright for doing that. And at the same time, I was doing hip hop. Right, I was doing hip hop, and hip hop, that was fun, man. Because I was playing football at the time. Still, I was about to quit, and my friend is like, "Hey, dude, we should try and do some hip hop, And he's like, "Yeah, let's do it." Cause neither of us know how to dance. Let's be cool and gangsters. And then it's like me and 5 other guys, and we're all like super nerds, right? Super nerds, super gamers, and all that stuff. And we go there, and it's only like, it's 6 guys, and there's like 400 girls, and they're all from our age until like up until 18, right? And we're like 13, where girls starts to get interesting, right? And there's a cool part. We were going to we had our own wardrobe, like a place where we could change, but it was actually just like a little storage area that was usually meant for storing clothes. So we would just walk in, and it was like lots of flies there and shit because like somebody else left their food out and like never gone. It was awful. Ugh. But then we were gonna perform right in front of like 400 people. I remember the first time I was gonna do that, I was so nervous. Holy shit, I was nervous. But then when I walked out on stage, all my nerves died. That's usually how it is. When I am nervous for something, I tend to be like really nervous like 6 hours in advance, and then 2 hours before, like everything dies and I'm cool. Like I finish my nervosity before. But the cool thing about this is that, like I said, 6 guys and like 400 girls. When we were doing the performance, there was only one place we could change, and that was with the girls. So we was like, we guys like in a corner, and we were watching all the girls walk around in their underwear, changing. Yeah, that's a nice memory I have. 'Cause they were nice, man. They were nice. So that's not the only time I've been in paradise, as you might call it. So as time went on, I stopped doing that. And also when I'm being 14, it's like when we have this confirmation thing in Norway, where it's like this ritual where you like become a man from old times, like you join a boat and you go out in the sea. Obviously, you don't do that anymore. What you do is that you have a family party, and then they give you a lot of money, like bar mitzvah or whatever you call it. It's like this Christian thing, right? It's basically to symbolize you're a man. And at that point in time, I was not a very entertaining person. I was very like, don't speak until spoken to kind of guy. I was very, like, I wasn't silent, but I didn't try to be funny. Pretty much, I was just myself. And then I realized that, like, hey, if I keep going like this, I'm gonna be really boring when I get old. And I don't want to be boring. So, I just decided on the spot that, fuck it, I'm going to try to be funny. And then I became like a clown, like on the day. And it worked pretty well. Still works. You're seeing the remains now. So I just on the spot, I decided, like, I'm not going to be boring anymore. I just completely changed myself. It's no problem. You're the ladies. I like changing myself. Yeah. So, Half-Life Radio helped me with English, and then we had the release of Half-Life 2 with Steam and everything. I was very early on Steam. I liked Counter-Strike 1.6, and especially playing Counter-Terrorist with the shield. That was fun for me. I didn't understand why people were so angry. So at the age of 14, you start to get introduced to like these people, because in my class we had a bunch of girls, and they were like always, like in Norway, there's like common that like older guys were like losers who like don't have a job, don't do anything, just drive their car all day and eat hamburgers. They would like get a bunch of girls together and like throw a party. And I remember they're like, "Oh, party! Well, I've seen this in the movies, like seen American Pie and all that shit." Like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to that party. It's gonna be really fun." I'm like, yeah, with some alcohol and shit. Of course, we were underage and not allowed to drink or anything. But here's the thing. When I was little, and I asked my parents what they were drinking, and they said beer, and I asked, can I have some? They said yes, and they gave me like this glass with like a tiny, tiny bit of alcohol, and I drank it, and it tasted awful. I'm like, what the fuck? How can you drink this? Ugh, it tastes awful, right? So that was my, like, because my parents are like, whenever I ask them stuff, like I always ask like stupid shit, but they always give me like honest answers. Like when the question comes like where babies come from. And I asked, like, my mother was like, where did I come from? And she's like, you came from me. And I'm like, what? I came from you? She's like, yeah, you came out through my, vagina. I'm like, how the fuck does that work? Isn't essentially what I said, but that's the summary. And they actually had a book that was like a children's book that it showed everything. Nothing was censored or sugarcoated. It's like, yeah, this happens, this happened, this happens. And I'm like, dude, that makes so much sense, right? Because, like, I realized that. But I've always been skeptical of things as a little kid. So, of course, I'm an atheist, of course. Spoilers, in case you didn't know. Then we lost like 500 years. And I've always been skeptical. I remember when I was, my parents had told me this when I was little. When you're little, you don't have a lot of concepts of things, right? You don't have a concept of time because you think everything is just normal because the same things happens every day. So when my parents told me that my grandparents were their parents, I just laughed so much. It was the dumbest thing I've heard. It's like, what? You have parents? Pfft, no way. Only I have parents, and people my age have parents. I have grandparents. They're old. And you're not so old, and I'm young. God, you guys are dumb. And I didn't believe it. I was just like literally rolling on the floor laughing because it was so stupid. And then they told my sister, and she was like, yeah, cool, it totally makes sense. So yeah, I was kind of not very smart in that regard. But I was also very skeptical. So when people like introduce me to the concept of like God, I'm like, dude, I don't believe that my grandparents were my parents' parents. How the fuck am I supposed to believe that? It's kind of, it sets the ground. So with Half-Life, okay, now we're speeding back in time again. With Half-Life 2 coming out, I was playing with these guys. It was before Half-Life multiplayer came out, so we played Half-Life 2, and I thought it was really cool. It was really fun. Played that a lot. Used a lot of developer console, like make a lot of commands, stuff like that, like spawning stuff, making scripts, all that good jazz. It was really fun. And then Sea of Source came out, and I played that. I thought it was fun. I didn't think it was like broken, but all my friends were like, oh, okay, I'm just fucking broken, blah, blah, blah. And then time passed on, and it's now 2004. That is the year we are in. And I'm in high school. This is the first year I have a fresh start. I'm still a gamer. I have like good computers, play games, and stuff like that. And this is like we're entering the dark times, because at this point in time I've discovered anime, right? And I'm like downloading everything I find, and like I'm spending like entire Sundays just watching like a fucking season of like some really bad show, just because I could. Because we didn't have anime in Norway. We had we had Pokemon, but that was it, you know, pretty much. We never had Dragon Ball, and I just love Dragon Ball. I would like download episodes for like 16 megabytes, and they were like horrible, like this pixels on the screen, could barely see anything. I'm like, oh yeah, this is so good, I can barely tell what's going on. Ugh. It's essentially, yeah. So I was like into anime, I was like doing that, and I was also dancing DDR at that time, you know, the arrows that goes up in the rhythm. Yeah, I was dancing that on a machine, and I thought I was cool, right? Yeah, because that's cool, that's awesome. And then I was watching anime, I was doing DDR, and then in 2004 I was introduced to MMORPGs for the first time. Never known what an MMORPG is. I know what RPGs are, but I never like enjoyed Zelda or any of those games because I find it kind of boring. I always watch friends play instead of doing that, and I was just really sucked into it, like a fucking idiot, right? Like all people are like, oh, World of Warcraft's so fun. There goes your social life, whatever social life you had, already gone. So at that point, I was playing Night Online. I was watching a lot of anime, drinking a lot of soda, living in in my room, and DDR. MMORPG, DDR, anime. That is not a good combo. If you do that, fucking stop what you're doing. Just stop with one of them, alright? Just stop. Alright. So I didn't play any FPS. I just, like, me and my friends would just, like, super hardcore that game. And that was, like, a power RPG. It was not fair in any way whatsoever. It was, like, really a power RPG. Like, Grindfest. Stuff like that. But I still wanted to be funny and do stuff like that. And then I was watching Weeble. I know who does Weeble stuff, the guy who did like Badger. And I came across this Korean song. I thought it was Chinese at first, but it's like this Korean turbo song. And then I made a dance with my friend, and then we performed it in the school cafeteria. And that was just something we wanted to do. This was in 2006, by the way, because I'm looking at the video on YouTube. Yeah. So. Okay. This thing has like 2,000 views. It's me and one of my best friend, who's in America right now. He's a soldier, which I also was. And I'm just going to show you this clip here. And it's going to be really embarrassing for me and really funny for you, because I can actually dance if given the time to prepare. So I'm just going to show you this. I also made my own mix. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. There you go.
Ready to rumble!
That's me on the left. This is in the school cafeteria. People are like, what the fuck is going on? And in the back, my friends with a boombox, so we had music.
여러분, 짜장 좋아해? 아니. 그럼 뭐 좋아해?
Dance is stolen, by the way. If you want to see all of this, you can see it on the video, but I just want to show you the end. So we're like dancing and shit like that. Whoops. Here I am. Because like I said, I wanted to do fun stuff, and I always enjoyed making other people laugh, and I've done that stuff. Basically what happened is that I just told my friend that we're gonna do this, and he was like, alright, do this. My friend had like no rhythm, so he had to like hard learn everything with that. And for some reason, there had been like a rumor throughout the entire school, right? And like you could see it in that video, but basically, the entire cafeteria was like packed with people wanted to see this. And I wasn't very known, but after that, I was known. I was kind of popular, like being clown, like that. So I did that because I could. And then later, me and my friend actually got hired by the seniors at the senior like festival or whatever. Fuck, it's like it's when they wear red pants and they drink alcohol and they don't do their homework. Pretty much, it's called being a Russ. It's like celebrating university, but really, really early. Yeah, so we got hired by those, and we had to make another number. It's no footage of that, but I actually dressed in drag, and my friend dressed like one of the gay people from Wheelish people with like some really tight leather pants and like a leather vest, whatever. And we performed there and did that song, and we performed the other one, and I actually wore a bra because I was dressing in drag, because it was gonna be Blondie Girl, and I was the girl. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah. So with that, moving on. So at this point in time, I'm in high school. I'm studying like computers, and it was like the chillest time of my life because the teacher would come in, and he would just like, he wouldn't ask if we were working. He would just like as if presenting that someone else is working. Let's say you're working on a factory, right? And then this guy is gonna show like this is where people work, So he would just go in and just go, this is where people work, and we would just turn around. Like fucking playing Counter-Strike, and he could like see all the monitors because they're like faced towards the room. So we always sit with the back to the teacher, and we always have to turn around when we want to see because it's like computer science. And he would see all of us fucking playing Counter-Strike, and he would just be like, "You guys are working?" And be like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Good." And then he left, and we didn't do shit, right? And then I met the person who probably affected my life the most ever. I met a friend in psychology class, and keep in mind at this point. MMORPGs, DDR, anime. Pfft, awesome. Right? No, it was horrible. And he had been an exchange student to Japan because the reason I talked to him was that I saw that he had bleach on his background. And I was like, hey, you like bleach? And he's like, yeah, I like anime sometimes. And then he's like, oh, cool. And then I talked to him, became friends with him, and he's like, yeah, I've been an exchange student to Japan. And then I went, dude, I want to be an exchange student too. And he's like, yeah, I can do that. I know some people in the organization. We can fix this. I'm like, awesome, right? And then, without telling my mother or father, I applied for Japan, but that was too late because my friend had been to Japan. I was like, okay. And then I looked on a map, and I was like, Korea is right next to Japan. And then I did some research on the alphabet and realized that the Korean alphabet is like the easiest. So, I went to Korea instead. And I went to Korea for the first time, 2006. Hey! Right? And I'm the kind of guy who never wanted to go to huts or anywhere because my parents always took me a bunch of places, which I'm grateful for, but I hate doing that now, like mountain climbing and stuff. Like mountains all look the same to me. And then I went to Korea in 2006 at the age of 17, turning 18 in Korea. And being in Korea, I was in high school, put in a regular high school in Korea. Very standard. It was just a focus on English class because they have like specializations. And they would just focus on English. I would get put there. I knew two words in Korean. It was 안녕하세요, which means hello, and takogi 못 먹어요, which means I can't eat chicken because I'm allergic to chicken. Which sucks because Korea has a lot of chicken. Fucking sucks dick. Is what it does. And there has never been a white exchange student in that school before, ever. There's only been like Japanese students, right? But the Japanese and Koreans look pretty similar, so it's not a big deal. And I was white, and I have green eyes. Green eyes, yeah. And I was a fucking superstar in the school, right? Like, I remember the first day I came to school, and we had uniforms. I looked like a fucking flight attendant. I have the uniform somewhere, but I don't know where. Probably home with my parents right now. I live by myself right now. University. And I would go there, and I would sit down at my desk, and we were sitting in pairs, right? Like 2, 2, 2, like pretty standard. And then the break came, and then just everybody. It's just like a bunch of bees that gathers around something that's sweet. It's just like around me. And I was sitting there like I couldn't move because people were around me, and they were like all talking to me. But the thing is, like they really wanted to talk to me, but they couldn't because they were really bad in English, right? And then suddenly they realized, like, hey, they didn't pay any attention to English. They can't talk to me because I didn't speak, like, well, Korean. And the things, like, they would look at me, and then when I looked back at them, they would just go, like, yeah, I'm not looking at you, even though they were, like, fucking standing in the circle. And I was, like, the most popular person on that school. And there was, like, thousands of students on that school. It was massive. And I started doing taekwondo. there with their team, which was like the country's best team, and their coach was fucking hardcore. Let me tell you what he did. Like, he taught me like how to kick, right? And I didn't do it correctly because I was like half-assing it. And he's like, after I've been there like a couple of weeks, he's like, you can't do one of those kicks properly, so I will give you 10 minutes to practice, and if you can't do it, you'll get punishment. And I'm like, yeah, fuck, no, why, you can't punish me. And then 10 minutes pass, and he comes back, and I have to get my punishment. And then he's like, oh yeah, go sit down. I had like these benches, right? And he's like, put your knees on those benches. And I like sit on my knees. I'm like, all right, just doing whatever he said. And then he comes out with a fucking golf club, right? He comes out with a fucking golf club. And I'm sitting there, like, with my legs. Like, if this is my body, I'm sitting like this, kind of, on the benches here. And I have, like, my foot soles showing. And he just takes the golf club and he hits me 10 times on each one. And it just hurts so bad. And he was, like, a buff guy. He was like this, you know. He, like, fucking punched little kids if you have to. He did that because those kids were so tough. Didn't cry or anything. The girl, like, said something and just walked up and just punched her. Like, she fell down. And then she just stood up again, like, fucking took it like a boss. And then I'm there and, like, fucking just hitting me with, like, this golf stick. It just hurts so much. And the day after, I couldn't walk because I had, like, no blood in my feet. And it just hurt so much. But after that, bet your ass I kicked correctly. So when I was in Korea, I met two very interesting families. First family I lived with was a Buddhist family, and if you don't know Buddhists, they're like the chillest people ever. They're like super duper chill. And the second family I lived with, they were like, the Buddhist was like, you know, do whatever, you know, do whatever. Because they were really chill, and they were rich. So, and then the second family was also rich, but they were like super Christian. Like the most Christian I've ever met. They were like super active in the church, and they were Baptists, right? And they're fucking crazy in Korea, I'll tell you. We're talking waking up at 7 p.m. on a Saturday to warm up singing the fucking Jesus songs or whatever, to warm up for Sunday. And I was forced to go to... I wasn't forced, but the thing is, if I declined, they would get really mad, and I have to live with these people, so... Instead of saying like I'm an atheist and be like a jerk, because they would like hate me for it in Korea. If everybody hates you, you can't get anything, because there's like this, they tell everything, and there's like this group mentality that, you know, unless you've been there, you don't want to understand, because Western is all about, you know, me, but in Korea it's all about us. So what you think is totally irrelevant. And I would go there, and I was like forced to go to like Christian like summer camp, and it was awful. But I got to experience a lot of stuff that most people like don't experience. I get to like experience the other side, and I can tell you they're actually crazy. Really weird. So yes. And then I returned to Norway later. I did a lot of fun stuff in Korea, but if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to be here forever. But then I was in Korea. I got introduced to... I saw StarCraft on TV, and that was pretty cool. And I played StarCraft down there because it was popular. StarCraft 1, Brood War. And let me tell you the greatest defeat of all time. I'm going to like these PC bunks, like this net cafes. And I'm going in with a friend, and we play some games. I'm still playing the MMORPG because that was a Korean one, and I play the Korean version now to get better at Korean. So I know like all the words for like buff, debuff, curse, lightning, ice, all that shit I know in Korean. And there was like this little girl. She was probably 7 or so, and she sat next to me. I saw her playing StarCraft. And she's like, "Hey, do you want to play against me?" I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, "Fuck, I'll beat this like kid, right? This little girl can't live up to me, right?" I was playing Terran. She was playing Protoss. She came with a probe, and she fucking built a pylon and stuck my SCVs in the mineral line, and I didn't know how to react to this. I'm like, what the fuck is she doing? Like, what am I supposed to do, right? And then she just zealot rushed me, and I died. And it was, I felt so bad, like, losing to 7-year-old, oh god, dude. And then after that, I stopped playing StarCraft. I was like, fuck it, like, these Koreans are insane. And then I returned back to Norway, and I continued my computer class. And I've always been the kind of person that likes to help people. Because also when growing up in elementary school and stuff, like I could hang with like the cool kids, but that wouldn't give me anything. Like hanging with cool kids, you know, like if I'm there, it won't enrich their life in any way. And if I'm gone, it doesn't really matter. So I then started to see like people that were like kind of outsiders, like being alone. And I'm like, dude, that's gotta suck. So I like, you know, walked up to them, I talked to them, I kind of became like friends to them to make them feel better, and, you know, made friends with them and stuff like that, because that meant, like, it felt better for me to feel like helping somebody instead of just going with, you know, the cool guys and just be douches with them. And I remember that in when I returned back to high school, there was like this guy. He was like there were people making fun of him because he had like this thing with his eyes where he couldn't really see well, and he was like really weird because of his eyes he didn't really have a good childhood. So he was like really having a lot of troubles, and all my classmates would like pick on him and make fun of him, and he stopped coming to school. And then one day, when he wasn't there, I like fucking yell at my class. I'm like, you guys are fucking assholes. He feels like shit, and he is like struggling with like his life and shit. Like, he has like this handicap, and there's nothing he can do about it. He can barely see, and you make fun of me. You guys are fucking assholes. And they were like, oh shit. And then like one time he came back to school. This was pretty early though. Came back, and I started making friends with him. Talked to him. I talked about his interest, and his interest was like anime. But after I was in Korea, I was like fucking sick and tired of anime. I hate anime now. It's like, ugh, if it's written by a Japanese man, it sucks. Like, unless it's Akira Toriyama, because that's Dragon Ball, and Dragon Ball's good, right? So I would like help this guy, and I would ask him if he was into anime, and because of my history with anime, I could actually ask him like legitimate questions, and I was just trying to help him, and I actually went to his house, and I met his overprotective mother, and it was just crazy. But we sat down, we played games, and he finally came back to school. He was being a happier person because I helped him and enriched his life, because I love helping people. It made me feel good, it made him feel good, everything is fine, and stuff like that. Yes. So on the other note, I've always been invited to all kinds of fancy parties ever I went to Korea, because when I was in Korea, I got invited to the embassy, and I was 18 at the time. And I fucking met all the big shots. Like, I met the Prime Minister of Defense. I met like some huge Samsung corporate CEO. I met like so many fucking people that were like so fucking high up there. And I'm sitting there like in my jeans and my Go Norway t-shirt. And I'm like, fuck, I'm out of position so badly. And then I went and returned to Norway. The Korean embassy keeps inviting me to all these fancy gala dinners for some fucking reason. I don't know why. I met like so many people that's like super famous and super powerful, and I am like so out of place, but I keep getting invited back. I don't know why. I'm probably on the list somewhere, and I have no idea how I gotten on that list. God. So, one thing that's also cool in Korea, I saw Psy at an NBC concert in 2006, and Psy is the guy with the Gangnam Style, so I knew who he was before he got famous. Hipster. Yeah. In Korea, I also won. There was like a dance contest. I won. I won a Subway. I was sitting on the Subway with the pizza. I won because I already eaten. I looked like a fucking idiot. That was some good times right there. So when I returned from Korea, I wanted to go back, but I wanted to go back on university level. And now, the year is 2007. And if you pay attention, you know what came out in 2007. It starts with T and ends with Team Fortress 2. Yes, Team Fortress 2 came out, and I was so stoked, and then I played it, and I thought it fucking sucked. Okay, I played Medic, and I had no grenades, no shotgun. All I had was this fucking Ghostbuster healing gun in the Ubercharge that took fucking forever, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. It was so boring. I played 2 Fort and like Dust Bowl and the old maps, and it just felt so weird. So I went back to playing my MMORPG. I was like, Team Fortress 2, fuck that. I played like a month, then I quit in 2007. And then back to MMO, and then in 2008, I joined the army. And with that, that is going to be the end of part 1. We'll be right back with part number 2 right now. And we're back with part number 2. And I've just joined the army. Alright. I've just finished high school. I was planning to go to university so I can go to Korea again, but that had been thwarted as I was forced to join the army. And in the army is where I went from being a boy to a man. Because army was fucking tough, right? First of all, you don't get to pick anything. They do all the choices for you, so you just get put somewhere. It's mandatory in Norway, so you have to go. And in the beginning, you have to go through like this recruit period where they treat you like absolute shit. That is when your mental state breaks down and you really have to have self-drive to keep going, because it is ridiculously unforgiving. Because you're like sitting there and they will like wake you up in the middle of the night and just yell at you, and they will like, you know, try to gas you and stuff like that. And here's the thing, I'm not very strong, I'm weak, right? Because I never worked out, and I have like poor genetics, so it takes a long time for me to work out. And with that, that's a nice segue to show you this movie. Let's do a workout. Working out is something I've always wanted to do, but never got around to it. Thanks to my pure dedication towards getting better, I'm willing to train myself to the limit. I know I'm weak, but I'm doing something about it. Realizing I had reached my skill ceiling in February this year, I was really disappointed with what I had accomplished. Like, this was it. But if you work out and train, you'll get better at everything you do. Even playing computer games. Which is why I work out. You know, I said I know I'm weak, and even if I'm weak and I got really poor genetics in the terms of bodybuilding, I will stop at nothing to reach my goal. I will exhaust my body to the point of collapsing. And even if I can't do one single of whatever these are called, that doesn't stop me from trying, because one day I know I will be able to do it, and I will be the best there ever was. I want to be the very best. Yeah, that was the 80s segment so far. So yeah, in the army, being weak really fucking sucks, and I never got around to training much there. And let me just tell you about an army story. In the army story, everybody fucking hated me because I was weak. I was always last. I was holding all the others back. But I was comfortable with it because I kind of became like when people are like having a hard time, like carrying bags and shit, or we're like running the fucking 2-mile marathon with like fucking backpack and guns and helmets and all that shit, and it like hurts like a motherfucker. People are like, oh, I'm having a really bad time. And they'd be like, hey, dude, look at that guy. And they look at me and I'm like, well, at least I'm not sucking as much as he does. So I was kind of like the relief of pain. And you know, like sitting in the darkness in a fucking swamp, guarding the swamp, seeing absolutely nothing. You're tired, you're hungry, you can't go. If you move, they yell at you, you have to sit still, and it just fucking sucks, and your mind goes crazy because you have no input from anything. You just see the trees moving and you start to see all kind of ghosts and shit. Your mind goes crazy, right? Like, it was just insane. And let me tell you about this. There's like this rule that you have to be able to assemble and like disassemble and reassemble your weapon within a certain time period. I did not make that time period at all. And I was one out of 200 who couldn't do it. Everybody else did it, but me, right? Because I wasn't strong enough to flip the thing. And the lieutenant came up to me and he's like, if you can't fucking do this on time, like all your squad is gonna pay for it, you know, because you can't do it. And I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna let like 200 men down because I can't fucking do this. So I spent an entire fucking Sunday reassembling and disassembling my my rifle, right? And I was like doing it back and forth, and like I did it so much that I started bleeding, but I didn't have time to stop because I didn't have that much time. Even though I spent like most of the Sunday, like you have to eat and do like other shit as well. And I was like bleeding and shit, and I was crying and everything because I have to do this. I have to do this. I can't let everybody down. And then I finally managed to do it, and I barely had my fingers intact. And then the next day, I proved myself that I could actually do it. And then I nearly shot a guy in the foot, which happened. We were out on this little exercise, and he was running through the woods, and we like changed our reloading mechanism to fire some fake bullets, but like if you point blank, you can still kill somebody with it. It's so pretty powerful. And we were walking back, and I managed to pull the trigger because I was like fucking tired and in daze. And I shot the ground. It was silent, and then you hear like, and then I hear behind me like, who the fuck was that? And oh god, and I had to raise my hand because it was me. And he's like, dear Seth, this will be consequential. And I'm like, oh shit. And then I had the lieutenant, but the lieutenant is really short, so he stood on like this little pedestal, so he was taller than me, and he just, like, in front of everybody, just fucking yelled at me and made me feel like shit, and talking about like how useless I was and I could have killed somebody and all that stuff. And then I'm like, oh dude, I don't want to be here anymore. And then I went to like the guy, because this was like far north, like no, in the middle of nowhere, right? And then I talked to the guy, and he was like, I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. And he's like, good, because we're sending you away because you're useless. I'm like, all right. And then I got sent to the best experience I could ever have. Ended up as a guard. Like, I was in the guard, guarding the base, but, you know, you only guard the soldiers, but there was no soldiers in that base. We had nothing to do. What we do, we played Wii a lot. It's what we did. Because basically all the useless people were gamers as well, and people that didn't want to be anywhere else. So we were like this gang of gamers, and we played so much Wii. I think my Wii would be on for like a week, and we played so much Smash Brothers in the army. It was really cool after that part. But man, being like in the army and yelled at and like experiencing all that shit really makes you tough, and make mean YouTube comments not really matter that much. You know, kind of puts things in perspective. But then in the army in May, when the sniper update hit, I saw one of my friends play TF2. And I'm like, is that TF2? And I was like, yeah. And I saw like the sniper had a bow. I'm like, the sniper has a bow. How awesome is that? And then I returned to it, and I was like, dude, this is fucking fun. And I saw the medic had Uber Saw, and then I started playing the medic again with the Uber Saw. And I'm like, dude, this is really fun. Like, if I melee people, I'll get Uber Charge. And it was like really good and real powerful. And then I started playing TF2, and then at the end of the army, like playing the MMORPG has kind of been like a chore. And I kind of like grown up in the army, so I wasn't really into that all MMO thing, even though I did, you know, play a lot of the MMO in the army on my laptop and stuff. I actually played on 3 accounts at the same time, because it was the kind of games you can play all 3. So I would like have a laptop, and my desktop playing the game. It was pretty insane. And then I'm back to TF2, right? 2008, 9, yeah, 2009, May update, the medic update. Medic update happened before, but yeah. And then I started like playing on server hopping. I played on a bunch of servers, and then I started playing on UKCS, 32 slot server, because that's what I played on TFC. I'm like, yeah, 32 slots is real TF2, right? And I would play there, and I played medic for the most part. I played like medic and heavy, but I played like spy and engineer, like played all the classes, but mostly medic, right? Because I was like, yeah, and I had like was a really good medic because I was maining it and I was playing it. I was loving it. And then I was just on YouTube, and then I don't remember how, but I saw the auto-aim video from JH. And that inspired me to be a sniper. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm going to be a sniper. That looks pretty cool. He's really good. I want to be better. I want to be the best. That's what I want to be. And then the transition started. Luckily, playing a medic, you get if you play medic a lot, and then you can transition into anything, because as a medic, you will see where everybody is all the time, so you'll have a really good game feel of what going on around you, right? Because as a medic, I loved spies, because spies would never really backstab me. It was really rare, and whenever they got close to me, I just hit them with the Uber sign, got Uber. And I like as a medic today, I still like spies because it's basically free Uber, because they will never stab me, because I always see them coming, because I always turning around. And then I started like the transition going over. I played a lot of sniper on UKCS. I think I still am the guy with the most sniper kills. I have like 50,000 kills on UKCS stat servers. It's pretty rough. And I would always counter-stack the team, but always playing the losing team. That's what I would do. And then in 2011, I would return to Korea, because I'd done 3 semesters at the University of Oslo. And then I was going to Korea again. And StarCraft 2 it was out. And I was like, yeah, I've been playing some StarCraft 2. I was a bit more into StarCraft 2 then than I was now. And TF2 in Korea was fucking awful. You know, here's what TF2 was in Korea, right? I've said this before, but in case you haven't seen it before, Koreans play on pub servers. They play 3 classes. They play Scout, Sniper, and Spy. All right. Normally, you would think that Koreans are good. They are good, but they are not good together. Like individually they're really good, but as a team they suck. Alright, that's why they're good at StarCraft. It's not really teamwork. League of Legends, shop, Dota. And I would play there, and the only maps they would play would be like fucking deathmatch maps, and the most played map in Korea at the time was CP Orange, which is like this horrible map. And I remember I befriended an admin called Orange Cake, and he had like regular public servers. They don't call it vanilla down there. They call it classic. And we would play on those, but those servers would just always empty because people would rage quit. They would have a team consisting of only scouts, snipers, and spies. And then my team would have like, you know, a fairly well-balanced team, and we would just completely roll them. So here's what happened. They play scout, spy, sniper team. Or Korean-style team, right? That's a Korean style. And then we would play a regular team, and then we will just completely destroy them, right? Like one side just like roll through everything. And then half of their team would rage quit, right? So that means half of my team will end up on their team, right? Because of auto balance. And then my team still had the integrity to kill them again, like roll them once more. And then they would rage quit again. And then you're like half, you of always the losing team, half would leave. And it doesn't take many rounds before you're down to fucking 2 players, right? And then the 2 players would leave and then just go play on like some fucking orange server, right? It was awful. It was fucking shit. Ugh, God, it was horrible. But luckily, somebody invited me to play pugs, and that is how I got into the competitive scene, because I've never played anything competitive before. I mean, I have been to LAN parties and stuff, but never at a competitive level. We never competed in any of the tournaments. We just played with friends, always playing on pub servers in any game I've ever played. And this was the first time it was like really competitive, where like it really mattered to win. Right, but I don't care. Playing, I don't mind losing, because I like losing makes you like show you that you have potential to get better, and getting better is what I like to do. So losing is really not a problem for me, and getting like completely destroyed by somebody is absolutely no problem whatsoever, because it just says, hey, you can get better. So yeah, in the Korea this time, playing pugs, started playing Medic, and I remember the first competitive game I ever played. And I played Medic, and we fucking rolled them. I was top fragging with over 40 points over the next guy on my team, just because of my Medic basics I've learned from before, and perfect Ubers and everything. My positioning wasn't the best, but like my basics in healing and timings and all that stuff was pretty good. However, I don't know how to like calculate if the enemy team has Uber or not. I just always assumed they had one, you know, just to be sure. And then I started playing, like I still played Sniper a lot. And then I started playing Sniper in Sixes there. And people just get mad at me. They're like, Sna Hajima, which means like, don't do Sniper, because they call Sniper either Sniper or Sna. Scout is Scout, Soldier is Soldier, Pyro, Hebi, Engi, I think, Medic, Sna, Spy. So it's like Scout and Sna, that's like very different. And then it took a while, and then I finally was able to show what I was good for. And then after that, I kind of become famous, because we played like this match against like kind of an all-star team in Korea, and we beat them. So I actually beat one of the best snipers in Korea. That was before I was really good. I didn't stream at that time, but I was like really good. I'm like nowhere near as good as I am. Like I'm not that good now as I was then. I'm trying to like reach my ownage level, but I can't, because my health is not very good right now, because I've been sleeping well for like 3 months, you know. And after that, they wouldn't let me play anything but Sniper. And they would like incorporate the strategy where I, as a sniper, would do like a lot of the work, and it just worked really well in those pugs. And then I got introduced to Highlander, and I played a lobby with some people from UKCS with 300 ping from Korea, and the lobby was awful because the map was Gold Rush, and it fucking sucked. Because a lot of people left. I left too. And then started playing a lot of Highlander mixes. I thought Highlander was really fun. Sixes has never really appealed to me. I don't think Sixes is as fun as Highlander, just because there's the lack of players. I think like the reason Scout and Soldiers are so good in Sixes is because there's nothing that, you know, limits their movement. There's like no sentries, no heavies, no pyros, unless they're defending last, you know. So yeah, so while in Korea, I also started going to the GSL, and I got, for the first time, introduced by a friend into a guy named Day9. I'm not sure if you heard of him, but he's pretty big. And my first reaction when I saw Day9 was, why does he act like me and talk like me? Because I was really surprised that the way I didn't stream at that point, or I did anything before that. But when I came, I'm like, what? That guy is like really just like me, or I'm just like him. He's older, so I guess I'm just like him. And it was just really weird for me. But still, like, it hadn't dawned upon me to do this show that I do now. I was just playing games and not streaming and everything. And then he did like the show, and he did like daily and stuff like that. And then I was like, yeah, cool. I wonder what's around for Team Fortress 2 on this part. And I went around, and I've seen like I knew who Eckstein was, but I didn't know Salamander at the point. I've just seen Eckstein because he's been around forever, and seen like the top 10 plays and stuff like that. And Eckstein actually played a role of me deciding to do what I do now, and that is because there was really no material for brand new players. It was always like competitive stuff and like advanced tutorials. I remember some of the tutorials I saw had like a bunch of texts on them, and it was really bad because I remember using one of the tutorials to learn how to properly use the Dead Ringer, because I like really didn't understand how to use that one in the beginning. And I remember this one time, this is like really funny. Like I'm not a big, I will tell you right now, I think saying Yao is dumb. Like I don't like it at all. But I won't say like you suck for using it. Just my opinion that I don't think it's fairly funny in any way. It's like one letter away from being like the Japanese word for gay men, yaoi, you know. But I remember, I digress, seeing some competitive stuff from Eckstein, and at one point he said like, the Devilman got this point under control, like it does. I just went, oh dude, I'm gonna make a show and not say that, because I felt like that didn't really appeal to me. I know that it appeals to somebody, but it didn't appeal to me. So I'm like, I'm gonna make a show where I do what I do, in a more of a, you know, fun, not like fun way, but like more like humane way, like trying not to be like cool or anything. And then, you know, with Day 9, I just basically, I'll admit, I basically took Day 9's frame of how he does things. But I've done radio shows before, so what he does isn't unlike stuff I've done before, so it's actually very similar in a lot of ways. And then free-to-play came out, and we had a bunch of new players. And finally, when free-to-play hit, TF2 in Korea was great. A lot of new servers popped up. Everybody played like classic or vanilla 24-slot servers, and it was just so fun because people were playing like all different classes. It wasn't only scout, sniper, and spy anymore. It was like varied. It was fun. Even though they weren't very good, it was still fun. It was still balanced. And I just loved every moment of it. And I'm like, yeah, new players, free to play, those are my people. I will try and help them to become better in the game because the players are already playing. They have a huge lead. I will make videos that are like kind of funny, but still entertaining and still trying to learn in a certain way. And I'm like, yeah, that is what I am going to do. Right. So then I got a new computer because my old one got destroyed because it was like really old. And then I started streaming. I've done a lot of video editing and radio work before because Half-Life Radio, and I did some Norwegian radio work back in the day when I was like doing some intern programs. So I have like a lot of experience with like settings and stuff like that. So setting up wasn't really hard. I've done a lot of design courses as well, so I make all the designs myself. And then in Korea, I started going to the GSL, right, the Global StarCraft League. And here's the thing: I did not know what the GSL was or anything, the StarCraft community. Because I played StarCraft, but I've been only watching HD StarCraft and Husky StarCraft when I was back in Norway a little bit with my friend. And I would go down there and I would meet like Tasteless and Artosis. And the thing is, like, I did not go up to them. I was sitting there with my friend, and we were like the only foreigners, and we were like really early, and they came up to us and were like talking to us. And then, like literally, Artosis and Tasteless came up to me and started talking to me, shaking my hand and asking where we were from and stuff like that. I did not approach them. They came to me, right? You jelly? So I talked to them a bit. Nothing more because I had generally no interest in them for the most part. But I started going to the GSL because I thought it was really fun. I met a lot of people there, like a lot of gamers. So it was kind of like this meeting point for gamers that we met there. And every time, because I was such a regular, I think they actually got sick of me going there. Tasteless would, in the break, like walk past me because I would go and get water. He would get water too. And he would look at me and he would go, "Thanks for coming out, man." And then Artosi would just look at me. And that's what would happen every time I was there. And after like the 12th time, it just started getting annoying. He always saying like, "Thanks for coming out, man." And Artosis just looking at me like, and then just walking. God. And then I met, later they introduced like Moletrap and Doa. They're like two other casters, and I actually talked to them. They were actually really friendly and really down to earth. And there was like this one girl. She's like blonde. She's kind of cute, pretty, whatever. And we started talking about our favorite games and stuff. And Doa's like, "Yeah, we like League of Legends." And Moletrap's like, "Yeah, StarCraft 2 is like my thing." And then I go like, "Yeah, well, Team Fortress 2 is like what I play a lot." And they go, "Yeah, that's a really fun game." And she's like, "Oh, really? I used to play competitively too." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "What class do you play?" And I just go, "Sniper." And then I thought like, well, I'm really good, so I guess I'm the best sniper in Norway. And I self-proclaim myself as the best sniper in Norway. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm the best sniper in Norway." And I'm like, "Really?" And some like Indonesian guys hear that. I'm like, "What? You're the best sniper in Norway in Team Fortress 2? And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, can you take a picture?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, take a picture." And I took a picture. I have no idea where they are or anything. That's pretty funny. And then I talked to the girl, and she's like, "What do you play? Pyro?" I'm like, "No, sniper," and start a whole other thing. And then I'm gonna ask her like, "What do you play?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't play anymore. I quit." I'm like, "Oh, what?" It's like, "I used to play medic, with the Kritzkrieg and stuff like that. But then they added hats, and then they quit." And I just went. I looked at my friend. I'm like, "Dude, we better go." And then we walked, and then the entire subway ride home, which was about 40 minutes. I did not stop bitching about how much of a bitch he was. Quitting TF2 because you don't like the hats? Are you fucking serious? God, I'm starting to get mad already. Remembering this. God, that was horrible. Oh, that bitch. Ugh. Every time I see her, it's like, oh yeah, that's a girl I hate Team Fortress 2. Yeah, fuck her. Yeah. Not in the good way, but just like, get her out of there. Ugh. Oh, that was horrible. But on that, I went on a lot of finals. Watching StarCraft was pretty fun. I didn't play as much. I bought Korean StarCraft 2, and I played in Norway. I was like platinum in Europe, like platinum league 1v1. But there, I was like silver, because they were so good. They were insanely good. You know, Koreans are just insanely good at StarCraft, and hands down. They have like a culture for it, and they have a long history with it. And then I returned to Norway, and I was like, finally, and I joined back with UKCS. And then I realized that they have done something to the UKCS servers because they don't feel like the servers I played on, which were standard ones. And UKCS, you tend to die a lot faster to heavy soldiers and demo men than you do on any other server, considering there's more players. So, and I also didn't like that they have unlimited crouches in the air, which I think is really unfair, and people should remove from the game if they can. You know my deal about that. I have a video, and like, and then I basically had a lot of competitive experience. I knew a lot of the maps. I've been doing the show for half a year, and I was gonna go into the competitive scene in Europe, and I didn't know anyone. I knew how the game worked, but I didn't know any people. Who anyone were, or any of the leagues. I knew there was ETF2L, but that was it. And then some way, somehow, through knowing a guy, I ended up on It's All About the Gibbous. All About the Gibbous is a fun team, but I spent most of my time practicing, and they spent most of their time just loafing around. It was kind of like, if you watch Salamancer's Fully Charged podcast, he talks about like the player that you hire that is a lot better than everybody else, but it's kind of like a dick because it's so good and better than everybody, and you shouldn't really be there. Like, I was that guy. When he talked, like, I felt like he was talking to me, right? Because I was like practicing so hard, and I just couldn't understand why they didn't practice as hard as I did, you know. And I played, but I decided, like, you know, I joined this team. I'm gonna stay with this team, and I'm just gonna be frustrated, or whatever. And, like, I have all the VODs on the YouTube if you want to see those when I played with them. And then in the end, I ended up with We Want Fun as a sub. Now I'm a main for them. And then I joined Pub Stompers. It was actually called UKCS Highlander Team, but UKCS got pissy that we used their name, even though we were all having players really good from UKCS, but the admins didn't like that because the admins are dicks. God, that voting system sucks so much. They have like this voting system that you use like buttons 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 to vote, and they haven't like rewrote the code, so it like you can't switch weapons if you press the wrong key. And people have been complaining about this for years, but they don't do anything about it because they don't care. You know, because if they care, they would have done something about it. You know, that's my logic. You know, if you care, you change it. You know. So, and then I ended up with Pub Stompers, and my plan forward is that I'm not going to stay in Pub Stompers because I'm actually going to get more into casting UGC. I'll be casting All-Star game that will be happening right now, and stuff like that. And yeah, we'll be playing in We Want Fun for a while because I really like playing with those guys. I've been recording some Minecraft videos that we did earlier today. That's pretty fun. So that is my plan. I had something else I wanted to talk about. Yes, I know a lot of guys been asking in chat if I'm a virgin or not. I think I've said this before, and the answer is yes, in case you haven't figured it out. You can't be this good! But the thing is, like, I've had girlfriends before. I've had the opportunity, but I said no because I didn't think they were... I was being so arrogant, I didn't think they were worth it, and they weren't. They weren't something to catch on to. When it comes to like having sex, I'm the kind of guy, right? I haven't said this, but I have very much self-drive. I don't care what anyone else says or thinks. I'm very stubborn. I do things my way, regardless. And let me tell you, I've only had 2 girlfriends, and the thing's like I don't really care. I don't have like an interest for it, and I have like some other stuff I will tell you. Like, there's a couple things about me that other people don't get, and one thing is that I don't care about money. At all. Like, money is just something I have to get food and shelter. I don't need to live in luxury because that doesn't give me anything, you know. Like, from the childhood I mentioned, like, I would hang with the cool kids, but it wouldn't give me anything, you know. So I don't really care about money. I'm not greedy. Stuff like that. It just doesn't. I never feel lonely or bored. I have no idea what feeling bored is like. I know what bored is like if I'm in the times like that there's nothing to do. Like, I'm literally in the middle of nowhere just waiting for something, and I have nothing. then I will get bored because there's absolutely nothing to do. There's nothing I can do but wait, right? But as long as I'm like home, I will never be bored because I always have stuff to do. I like have a creativity. I make videos and shit like that. I make dances. I perform. You know, I do all this kind of shit. And then I was 14 at the time, and I was visiting my grandparents, and I saw this picture of this girl they had because they had like this confirmation thing I talked about when you just basically get a lot of money, and she was really pretty, stuff like that. And I was like, cool, she's really cute. And they're like, yeah, she's home now. I was like, what, she lives here? It's like, yeah, they moved in like a couple of months ago. All right, you should go see her. Because at my parents' house, they live in the fucking countryside, and like in the fjord, you know, like in Norway, there's like there's 2 mountains and there's water, like in the middle of fucking nowhere, you know, in there. That's where they decided to live because that's a good place to live, right? So I'll tell you, like right now, I'm a baller. I know what I want and I know how to get it, and if I want it, I get it regardless. I've never been in a position where I'm like, dude, I really want a girlfriend, and I've been able to get one. Every time I've been like, I want a girlfriend, I've gotten one successfully because I don't beat around the bush, I don't lie, I'm honest, I'm straightforward, and girls like that. Or so I convinced myself. So basically what I did is that I walked up to the door, I rang the bell, her fat brother opened the door, so I was like expecting her pretty face, and it's all like this fat whale. That was her brother. Kind of like, it's a story, I'm exaggerating, right? Okay. And then I was like, hey, is Elizabeth home? Because that was her name. He's like, yeah. And then he goes like, Elizabeth, there's a guy here. And she's like, oh. And then she comes up and she's like, who are you? I'm like, hey, I'm Marius. I'm a grandson of these people. We played together when we were kids because we were like 2 or something. Kids. He's like, oh yeah, that's nice. I'm like, hey, can I come in? There's like nothing to do, you know, here except watching TV and being bored. And she's like, yeah, just come in. So I rang the bell, asked if I could come in, and I came in. And there was funny questions. She asked like her parents, like, Mom, there's a guy here. Can you come in? And the mother asked, like, do you know him? And she's like, no. Like, do you know like where he is or how old he is? He's like, no. Can you come in? And the parents like, yes, you can come in. And then we went down to her room, and the first day we just talked about each other, who we liked. I said I was like a gamer and stuff like that, but I didn't play any games there, so I didn't have any distractions. And she was like really smart, straight A student, really pretty, like everything properly. And then I started visiting my grandparents more often because I wanted to visit her because she was really, really cute and really smart. Didn't like really feel that way about any other girls I know in like my school or anything because they weren't interesting to me. And I was with her, and then like a couple of, I think it was a month later, we finally got together and we like admitted our feelings to each other. And she's like, hey, you like me? I'm like, yeah, of course I like you. Don't you like me? He's like, hey. And then we started kissing and all that stuff. And yeah, and then it lasted for about a year. It was a long distance, like 80 miles away, like 8,000 kilometers or 80,000. It was really fucking way. It was on the side of the country, right? Didn't really work. She found someone else. And then I've always been on this thing that if somebody likes me and comes up to me and says that they like me, I will give it a shot because I think it would feel horrible if you go up to somebody and you're like, hey, I really like you, and then they go, oh, I don't like you too, I'm not going to give you a shot, fuck you. I hate those people. Because I think if somebody takes the time and spend energy on me, I should fucking take time and spend energy on them. You know, it's just courtesy. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Give them a shot. So this other guy was this really, really desperate girl. She's gone through like more girlfriends than I have socks in my life. No boyfriends, because she was like a new boyfriend every other week, and like she's being super serious, like this goth chicks. And she came on to me, and she was just like throwing herself at me, you know. And that was the first time I experienced that, and I didn't really like her that much, but I thought like, well, she is really into me for some reason, and that's the time I was in like 16. I had like really long hair and shit. Cause I had like fucking afro, and she was just all over me. And we tried it, and then at the end I realized like, dude, I have no interest in her at all. And then I just broke up with her face to face. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you. And it's like, hey, I'm breaking up. It doesn't work for us. I don't have this feeling. So then she was really sad, and I didn't feel anything. I just walked away. No problem.
Easy operation.
Yeah. So that was the last relationship. I haven't been in a relationship since I was 17, I think. I only had like 2 girlfriends, but I've been on like a lot of dates, but never been like, hey, let's go on a date. Like in Korea, I was on dates like every week. So many girls was like fighting for me, and I didn't really like Asian girls because I like girls who have a spine that knows what they want and like aren't pushovers. But in Korea, every single girl was like a major pushover, and the one girl that was not a pushover, that had like a fucking spine, she hated me. So was a rough time. And then also in Korea in 2011, I was on a lot of dates with a bunch of girls, basically them asking me out, but you know, because I had like no interest. I want to play games. Like, if I never feel lonely. I don't like if the chance comes, like it comes plopping down in my lap. I'm not gonna say no, but I just don't. There's like no interest there. I would rather do other things. Like it's not a concern for me, at all. So yeah, that pretty much sums up my like whole relationship thing. Pretty cool. I'm pretty independent. I don't need anyone. Like I said, feeling lonely. No idea what that is. Because I remember in Korea, I've lost all my friends in Korea like twice because they left, you know, for semesters, like other foreign students. And there was one time where there was like this limbo. It was before the summer students arrived, but it was after the fall, the spring students had left. And it was fucking empty. It was like a ghost town. I was the only one there. And I was like, dude, there's no one else. There's only me. This is fucking great. And I just loved it. And then when other people came, I was like, oh, more people. God. Okay. So, yeah. That's it. That's the end of the show. I don't think there's anything else. I can do some questions if you want. That's basically been the story of me, why I am and why I do the stuff I do. I'm honest to myself. I like losing because you can get better at all that stuff. And yeah, while you guys prefer some questions, let me just show you my house. Alright, so I thought I'd give you a tour of the house as it is episode 100. Blogs, I thought I'd show you where I live. So, this is the door into where I live. This is the kitchen. I live with a roommate. He lives in there. He's not home, I think. But all of this mess is all mine. I usually keep it that way. Gotta close the door. Yes, here we have where my shoes are. Those are mine. Mr. His area. Let's show you the bathroom real quick. Yeah. Bathroom and shower. And this is my room. Here we have a mess of clothes laying on top of IKEA bags. So it's actually not touching the floor. It's actually a mess. Laundry, bread box, and snacks inside there. What looks like the kitchen in the early shows before I changed the camera. And now the important part. The bed where absolutely no magic happens ever. This is my chair. And now here is my desk. Yeah, that is what you can see. This is the camera. Where I see all of you. And this is usually where the chat is. It's currently off right now, but this is the computer. This is my mouse mat. This is currently a TV. I have a Wii that I don't use. My laptop that I don't really use either. As you can see, I have spices next to my mouse. There is some dishes from food I'd eaten. And there is my clothing, and everything looks messy. And up here is where all the hats are. And this is the window that I never go. And this is the view. Don't really see much from here. So that was the tour of the house. Back to you, GPS. Thanks, GPS. Thank you for that one. So yeah, that was my rig. That's how I roll. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be like really any questions because there's nothing really to ask because I'm not that interesting. So yeah, thank you for watching this two-part me just talking about myself, my favorite topic, and all that stuff. Yeah. So you know, I think you know everything about me right now. Yep. So thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time, and episode 101 is not going to be highlights because I'm actually going to start something else called highlights. See what I did there? Highlights. So basically, it's going to be small clips of like best moments from previous episodes eventually. So, yeah, Fatmund knows how to spell it. Oh yeah, a question from the chat. If I ever got bullied, no. I stopped a lot of bullying. And the one time I got bullied, I beat the shit out of him. And then he didn't bully me anymore. I mean, I lost the fight, but I didn't get bullied. Not really. Let's see. If I have a job, I can have a job if I want. Right now, this is what I'm trying to make my job. This is what I want to work with. I mean, I like broadcasting. I did some radio work before, and I just love doing this. And the reason I do this is because I like to do it. I think it's fun for me, regardless if people watch it or not. So it's kind of that. Like, I have a lot of self-drive. A lot of other people, like other casters, they care what other people think, but I really don't, unless it's like legit. Like, You know, if I usually know if I'm very critical to myself, so I always know that. Yeah, some people say I have a face for radio. Yeah. Oh yeah, this something I forgot to tell. My pinkies are like skewed. That's something. The other thing about my parents is that, you know, I'm a product of my parents, so they didn't really care either. Because my parents, when I was in Korea, they were like, oh, okay. Like, I have never been told by anyone I know ever to just, oh, you should keep doing the show. It's like really worth it. You should get like really encouragement. None of that. It's all been me, my self-drive. And that's why I'm such a selfish little prick, because I power myself. And that's another thing. I don't drink coffee. I don't eat candy. I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke. I don't do drugs because I think that's just a fucking waste of time. I will not drink a liquid I cannot see through. Have you, like, this is liquid you drink, right? And from a jar. It's water, right? It's water. But like coffee and like Coca-Cola, are you fucking crazy? That shit is black. It's like the opposite of something. It's like if you see like a waterfall, and then you're like, oh yeah, that's water. You can drink that. And then you see like a black waterfall, and you're like, fuck that. Something is wrong with that shit. Like, why is it black? Why is it black? And the reason I drink from a jar is bigger than a glass and smaller than the bottle. So it's like the perfect size for me from segments. Oh yeah, people will think I'm a racist. I'm not racist at all. I'm just race aware. Yeah, people say I'm on a natural high. That just comes natural, you know, from being a clown for a really long time. I will not go back to the army because the army in Norway is essentially people who can't do any other job ends up in the army. So it's basically a bunch of guys that don't know anything that works there. I was like, ugh, fucking horrible. But the camp always was pretty fun, pretty chill. But like, you know, protocols, you have to be out in the woods. So I don't like that. Not gonna play Borderlands 2. I have no interest in that game. I'm just gonna play TF2. That's what I like. Okay, thanks for watching.